Hello, Miss Crystal here. Welcome back to Storytime. Today I have a story called The Mitten. It was adapted and illustrated by Jan Brett. The Mitten is a story about Nicky, a boy who wants a pair of snow-white mittens. Baba, his grandmother, knits him a pair of mittens, but she tells him not to lose them. When Nicky gets out in the snow to play, he loses one of the mittens. Let's find out what happens to the mitten, why it never is the same again, and how Nicky gets it back. You ready? The Mitten. It's a Ukrainian folk tale. Once there was a boy named Nicky who wanted his new mittens made from wool as white as snow. He wanted them made of wool. It's a kind of knit. He wanted them white as snow. At first, his grandmother Baba did not want to knit white mittens. If you drop one in the snow, she warned, you'll never find it. But Nicky wanted snow-white mittens, and finally, Baba made them. After she finished, she said, "When you come home, first I will look to see if you are safe and sound." She wanted to make sure that he was happy and healthy from being gone. He is safe and sound. But then, she said, I will look to see if you still have your snow-white mittens. So off Nicky went. And it wasn't long until one of his new mittens dropped in the snow and was left behind. Look at it. It got dropped in the snow. Do you see it? Uh-oh. What's happening, huh? It's hard to see that white mitten in the snow. I have a mitten. It's not white, but you could see it. There's my mitten, where the thumb goes. It's sitting in the snow. A mole, tired from tunneling along, discovered the mitten, and he burrowed inside. He squeezed into it. Here comes that little mole. Ooh, he found a mitten. He's gonna squeeze inside. It was cozy and warm and just the right size. So he decided to stay. A snowshoe rabbit came hopping by. He stopped for a moment to admire his winter coat. It was then that he saw the mitten. He wiggled and wiggled, back and forth and side to side, feet first. The mole didn't think there was room for them, for both of them. But when he saw the rabbit's big kickers, he moved over, and the rabbit wiggled inside. Next, a hedgehog came snuffling along. He decided to move into the mitten and warm himself. He had spent the whole day looking under wet leaves for things to eat. The mole and the rabbit were bumped and jostled, but not being ones to argue with someone covered with prickles. You see all those prickles? They're short and sharp. The hedgehog is prickly. They made room for him. As soon as the hedgehog disappeared into the mitten, A big owl, attracted by the commotion, swooped down towards the mitten. When he decided to move in, the mole, the rabbit, and the hedgehog, they all grumbled. Ugh. But when they saw the owl and his glinty talons, look at those sharp claws, they quickly let him in too. Oh, there he goes. Up through the snow appeared a badger. He eyed the mitten, and he began to climb in. The mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, the owl, they were not pleased. There was no room left. But when they saw his diggers, they gave him the thumb. It started snowing, but the animals were snug inside the mitten. A waft of warm steam rose in the air, and a fox who was trotting by stopped to investigate. He's very curious. Just the sight of the cozy mitten made him feel sleepy. He started to feel drowsy. The fox poked his muzzle in. When the mole and the rabbit, the hedgehog and the owl and the badger saw his shiny teeth, they gave the fox lots of room. A great big bear lumbered by. He spied the mitten all plumped up. It was not being out to be left in the cold. He began to nose his way in. The animals were packed in as tightly as could be. But what animal is going to argue with a big bear? Oh my goodness. The mitten swelled and stretched. It was pulled and bulged too many times its size. But Baba's good knitting held fast. Along came a little meadow mouse. No bigger than a little acorn. She wriggled into one of the spaces that were left and made herself comfortable right on top of Bear's nose. The bear, tickled by the mouse's whiskers, gave an enormous "ah-chew!" and the force of the sneeze shot the mitten into the sky and scattered the animals in all directions. It tossed the animals here and there and everywhere. On his way home, Nicky saw a white shape in the distance. It was his mitten, silhouetted against the blue sky. He could see the shape of it right in the sky. There it was, falling down. As he ran to catch his snow-white mitten, he saw Baba's face in the window. First, she looked to see if he was safe and sound, and then she saw that he still had his new mittens. Let's see. There's Maddie, and he's catching his mitten. Look at Baba. Why do you think Baba is looking at one little mitten and one big mitten? She must be wondering how that mitten got so big. Do you remember? How did one mitten get to be bigger? And Nicky wanted a pair of mittens white as snow. Do you remember what she said to him? Remember, it will be hard to find in the snow. Huh? Why do you think all the animals crawled inside of the mitten? What were they thinking? And what happened to that mitten when all the animals climbed inside? That was a fun story. Thank you for joining me. See you next time.